6, 7, 8. Rock step, triple step, rock step, cha-cha-cha, rock step, cha-cha-cha.
Hi, my name is Kate, and my pronouns are they, them.
And my name is Lou, and my pronouns are they, them as well.
Just two they, thems talking about dance.
Dance and stuff.
Yes, all the stuff. So today we're going to be talking about white supremacy. This will be at least a two-part episode or two-part series about white supremacy. And we're just going to talk about some stuff. We'll get into the kind of gist of the episode. But first, I want to just define white supremacy. It is an umbrella term. And Wikipedia, anyways, says that white supremacy is the belief that white people are superior to those of other races and over the land. But there's so much more to it, and we're going to get into it today. It's racism, sexism, ableism, classism, homophobia, transphobia, fatphobia, and ageism.
Yes, absolutely. And white supremacy isn't just like this scary thing that's talked about in books. It's actually like something that lives in our bodies and something that is portrayed through culture. And there's this really cool list that kind of helps us deconstruct that. It's this list that I first heard from a TikToker named Shahem McLaurin. They spell it with a 5. We'll put links in our show notes so that you can go find them. And they did an Is It White Supremacy series back in 2021. And that's when I first became aware of this list. And ever since then, I've kind of been like, just checking myself and the communities and the organizations that I've been across and been like, oh, does this show up in this? Is this that white supremacy thing? Oh, because it's actually like this really, it hides everywhere because white supremacy is the foundation of our modern American culture. It's like the ocean we swim in, and it takes a lot to be able to notice it in all of the little parts. So the story, or like the who wrote this original list, it's written by a white Jewish lady named Tema Okun, and she wrote this back in 1999. And she is someone who, she's a little older, and she has this story from when she was young, working in the Black-White Alliance in her school. And there, she was having a meeting for this community organization in the basement to her house, and a young black man was in this organization with her and said to her, "You're being racist," during the meeting, and was trying to call her out on something. And she was like, "I can't be racist. Look, I'm having the meeting to the black and white straight, from the Black and White Alliance. I'm having the meeting for the Black and White Alliance here in my basement. Like, obviously I'm not a racist." And their argument continues on, and she goes upstairs to go get more refreshments. And at some point, her mom pulls her aside and is like, "Hey, listen, you are being a racist down there. Just because you're in there trying to make it better doesn't mean that you haven't come to the table with everything that your society and your privilege of your whiteness has brought you to this moment. So even though you're walking into that space with really good intentions, you're still bringing all these constructs with you. And it's a lifelong process to deconstruct them. So as Tema went on about her life and kept that redirect from her mom and the work that she was doing in the Black and White Alliance in mind, she came up with this list that is referenced a lot in white people talking about how to deconstruct their own whiteness. And we're going to go through this list with you and talk about each item in it and how we see it showing up within dance worlds.
Yes, absolutely. I just want to when we were talking about getting this episode together, Lou gave me the resources that they had found, like they described. And I did watch the video of her recounting this story. And I was just, it's just a really beautiful story. And it's really amazing that she allowed it to stick with her. And also that her mom was saying, hey, wake up, basically.
Absolutely. I think it's such a gift that both her mom and the boy in her community shared with her of like, listen, you're not seeing something here, and we would love for you to see it so you can continue to be better.
And that's kind of the beginning of what it takes.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk a lot about that.
To it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this list. We're going to read it to you. Let's go ahead and get into this list. I'm going to go ahead and start reading it. So we have either or thinking, perfectionism, sense of urgency, defensiveness, quality over quantity, worship of the written word,
only one right way, paternalism, power hoarding, fear of open conflict, individualism, I'm the only one, progress is bigger and more, objectivity, and the right to comfort.
So what some people might recognize in this list, and what I recognize in this list, and what made it me like really excited to really bring this into my own life, is that I notice this as like a trauma response. Mm-hmm. If you are behaving in all of these things, that's how people tend to act when they are living more in their trauma than grounded in the moment. And that's why I think it's really powerful to deconstruct this, is because it really helps us understand how white supremacy is white people moving through the trauma of their own oppression and putting that oppression on others.
Exactly. Yeah. I had the same exact reaction when I read the list, and the details in the list, which we don't have enough time to go through every detail, but we're going to add the links like Lou had said. It's very much, you might notice it in your own. I mean, we're all going to notice these things in Absolutely. Our psyche and in our bodies, but certainly if you've had trauma and if you've acted that trauma out with anyone else, you're going to see that this stuff is really present.
You'll be able to see it very clearly. And I would argue that everyone in America living under white supremacy is traumatized by white supremacy. So
totally.
This is how that shows up in your nervous system and in your body, and how that shows up when we start working together in groups, which the dance community does all of those things.
That's basically all it is one big group trying to be its own little petri dish in this weird culture we live in.
All right, so we're going to start breaking down this list item by item, and we're going to start with either or thinking. And one of the reasons why I wanted to start with this one first is because it kind of sets up the idea that we really want to be thinking about everything in nuance. And that we are making this we are making this podcast for y'all. And podcasts can often, even though they're one of the mediums that can break things down in a really complex way, it also can kind of gloss over some details.
Absolutely.
So we might be talking about some really like specific things or answers or ideas. And I just want to encourage everybody to know that there is deep nuance through everything that we are talking to. And if we aren't presenting that nuance, we would love if that nuance, if you jump into the conversation and share that nuance with us as well, because there's definitely things that we're going to be missing here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the basic definition, or like what we kind of put together based on this list, is very black and white. Either or thinking is black and white thinking, good versus bad, us versus them, and simplifying complex things down to something really condensed to fit a narrative. Things are either or right or wrong, right?
Right. Yes. I think we really see this come through in the dance world, where you're like, well, I'm either a good dancer or I'm a bad dancer. Mm-hmm. Or that person there, they're either a good dancer or a bad dancer. Or that community is good or bad. Or that thought process is good or bad. Or anything like that.
Yes. I mean, it's like when you first get there, you're like, oh, I'm not good enough. And then before you know it, you're like in a group of people that thinks they're better than everyone else. Like, it's very subtle how this happens.
Right. Absolutely. The antidote to this really is nuance. It's slowing down and dropping into the complex dialectic of each situation, understanding that it isn't either or, is that everything is one, and nothing actually has supremacy over the other, that everything has value, and that there is no good, bad, there just is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And like in the dance world, that can present itself in such a like broad kind of way. It could be in how you ask questions and how you get answers, how you decide how you're going to show up in the space, and really showing up with the nuance of that this is kind of a complex community that is just like the broader world, right? Mm-hmm. The next one on the list, as we see, they're all going to be kind of like related to each other and interwoven. But the next one is perfectionism. And Lou, do you want to toss out a definition for that one?
Yeah, the definition of perfectionism is when making a mistake is being confused with being a mistake. So instead of just doing something wrong, you are wrong. Right. And it's the hyperfixation on making mistakes and what those are and focusing on what is wrong instead of kind of also looking at what is working, even in what the wrongness is.
Yes.
And we can really see this in dance spaces when we focus and put all the credit on the people that are seen as the best, like the teachers, the organizers, the dance contest winners, and seeing them as the perfect ones, and everyone else that is just working to be perfect.
Yes. Yes, it's the ideal is what we're all kind of collectively striving for, when actually we're good as we are. And
Absolutely.
That sense of constantly having to strive. And I love that word hyperfixation because it implies obsession. And I do think that perfectionism in our culture has this really obsessive tendency. And of course that is happening in dance too, where we're constantly trying to better ourselves and be like someone else.
Yeah. I mean, we see this in capitalism where it's like, well, I'm just not a millionaire yet.
Right.
I'll be a billionaire next week if I just keep doing X, Y, Z. And it's like, actually, that's not how it works. And B, the people that have done that have done a lot of oppressing others to get there. So why don't we just slow down and view where we're at and the value in that as well?
Right. So then the antidote ends up being just like embodying and developing a culture of true appreciation for ourselves and others in this space of oneness.
Absolutely. And really delighting in the process and delighting in learning and making mistakes. It's like a gift. Like when, often dancers will do things where they try to break the rules of the dance, or they do things where they're trying to make mistakes so that they can see it get funny and then they can learn from them.
Yes, yes. I mean, I think it's really rare to see like dance pros show their work and show like behind the scenes of what makes them appear to be perfect. But when that happens in those rare instances, it's like a salve to the collective heart
Absolutely.
Of the dancer. It's like,
yes.
Oh, thank God, It's huge.
Yes. I think that there's been a really cool movement of some dance influencers and people who are sharing their dance journeys as content on the internet, where they're showing the rough moments too, and that it's not all shiny and perfect. What does it look like when they fall, or when they don't win something, or just what a random Tuesday dance practice can be? It's not all these super shiny moments of winning something.
Yes. That antidote too of being in the space of what's here is enough.
Absolutely.
And appreciating one another.
Absolutely. So the next item that we're going to talk through is a sense of urgency. And that is defined as a sense of urgency that makes it difficult to take time to be inclusive, encourage democratic or thoughtful decision making, to think long term, or allowing yourself to think long term, more focusing on the short term, or considering the consequences of the decisions that you're making.
Yes. Oh,
I feel like the sense of urgency, like capitalism runs on a sense of urgency, and
100%.
this like nervous system thing of like you're always rushing to get the answer because sitting and waiting causes discomfort.
Right. Absolutely. Try sitting down after a day of work and not looking at your phone.
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally hardwired to be constantly trying to get to the next thing. And most of the time, what's happening culturally is we're just trying to focus on fixing now and not thinking about the long term. And I see this in the dance world. I mean, like Lou said, collectively as a community and a culture, it's like running the show. But I think it's also running dance, of course, in the sense that we have studio owners, dance teachers, students even, making all of their decisions based on what is going to get them something that they want right now. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a fuller class, no matter who they had to kind of, no matter who was involved in the process, just pushing forward to the next big thing is typically the way that it works in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And an antidote to this is to simply go slower, is to recognize when that sense of urgency is on board and to be like, oh, do I need to be rushing right now? Is that deadline actually important? Or can we slow down and deconstruct this need to rush and, do things like include more people in the decision-making process, or like seeing like, is this actually what's going to be best for the dance community? Or is what's going to help like get as many people in the door as possible?
Right. Absolutely. And I feel like that slowing down is a really brave move. But once you start doing it, like Lou and I have experienced this in our own business. Like once we've started doing it, we're like, yeah, let's slow the fuck down.
Yeah, slowing down is great.
We love going
slower. Yeah, like we definitely just did this with deciding to take some time off from releasing podcast episodes. And there was a moment where Kate was like, why don't we take a whole month off? And I was like, I don't know, because I feel like we can't. And then I went and I slept on it and I was like, oh yeah, let's take a month off. Like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I really respect seeing this in the dance world too. I really respect because I saw that the Queer Afro-Latin Dance Festival took a whole year off.
That's right.
We were all like, let's go to the Queer Afro-Latin Dance Festival in 2025. Oh, there isn't one this year. We just got to think about 2026. And I know nothing about those organizers. I don't know why that decision was made. But I, as an outsider, I was like, oh, they're really caring about making sure that it's going to be a really good event, because they didn't just rush to do one because they had to that year. They decided to slow down and be more intentional.
All right. So the next one we're going to look at is defensiveness. And defensiveness is criticism of those with power being viewed as threatening or inappropriate. It's a big one.
Absolutely. That's a real big one. And it's one of these ones that like keeps this nightmare going, because like you're not allowed to make the people in power uncomfortable, because one of the main reasons is they're going to get defensive. So then you feel gaslit. It's like, oh, was I being upset about something? Maybe that isn't something that I should have brought up. But really, it's like the defensiveness that the people in power have, or that we all hold, that kind of stops us from taking feedback and actually like improving and considering everybody's experience.
Yes. I think like in the dance world, I have had so much personal experience with this, being a dance teacher that has presented very feminine a lot of my teaching career. And I've had a lot of male students be really taken off guard and kind of passive aggressive when I give them feedback about their dancing. Like, one example is somebody saying, "Yes, ma'am," like in a really condescending tone after I give them like a tip or a trick for how to like make it feel better. Or like, "Oh yeah, I knew how to do that. I just didn't do it right that one time." And it's just like, we all have those feelings of not wanting to be wrong, but having that sensation, I even went to other teachers that were male and they have no concept of this. So it's like this kind of power dynamic, even in the classroom, the kind of flip power dynamic than you would initially think it was because I'm femme.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that defensiveness too can happen regardless of gender, just in dance roles, because the lead is the one that's dictating the, like, you're the one doing the prep. You're the one dictating what the shapes are going to be.
Yes,
So it's very easy to get into the mindset of like, well, my follow's broken. I've even had this where I'm like, a move's not working. I can't tell what I'm doing wrong. I'm like, well, it obviously needs to be the other person. And I'm like, wait a second.
Hold on.
I know that it's always in the prep. I know it's not that my follow is broken. Like something's going on here. And I really have to like take a moment to not just leap to that easiest thing of, well, my follow is broken. And I think that's just like a super common thing that a lot of people experience. I think another way that we see this too is defending a lot of the men that are centered in our community. And there's lots of conversations that I've been privy to where people will be voicing very real concerns about harm that's being created by an organizer or like just a very popular guy or someone that is taking up a lot of space in the community, isn't necessarily being reciprocal or very kind to the people around them. And there will be this kind of whisper networking conversation that lays out a lot of very real issues with this person. And then the conversation will end with, oh, but he's such a nice guy.
Right.
Oh, but he does so much for the community. Oh, yeah, but he doesn't mean it.
Right.
And it's like, well, just because he doesn't mean it doesn't mean that all of that stuff that you were just saying like shouldn't be brought to his attention.
Right.
That shouldn't be discussed in a community-wide thing. Like, why does he get away with that? And it's because we're like preempting we're doing the defensiveness for them.
And therefore gaslighting ourselves.
Right. It's like a form of us gaslighting. He didn't even have to do it. We're gaslighting ourselves.
Yeah, let me do that for him.
Right. Right. And I like to ask, like, do we give those excuses to like the not white, straight, tall, attractive men in our community? Not so much. Yeah, absolutely.
So then like the antidote to that is naming this stuff when it's present, naming defensiveness when we see it. Like a code of conduct being on somebody's wall is not enough to actually uphold people to the behavior that we want to see. We actually need to have conversations about it.
Right. Because the defensiveness will kind of still hide within that code of conduct. They'll be like, oh, well, I'm not the person that's doing this. Like, I haven't created harm. And it's like, well, actually, we all can create harm. Harm's possible in all of those places. And we need to talk through the specific situation and how you're feeling defensive and how they're feeling defensive. We're all going to work on our defensiveness and then come back to be a stronger community.
Totally. Yeah. I feel like a dance example is when you see literally anybody who has any kind of like power or recognition or visibility in the dance world, changing their practices as they learn, giving space for people to feel through issues on a case-by-case basis. Like you're saying, it's like we don't see it very often, but whenever there is room for that conversation, it's healing for this issue. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yes. So next, we're going to talk about quantity over quality. And we can define that as if it can't be measured, it can't be valued. And focusing on having more or being more is what's successful.
Mm-hmm. This is one that's just like really, really blatant, I think, everywhere. But it's one that I think is like a bit more obvious in the dance world in a lot of ways. It's like if a studio is not like, the students aren't winning awards, if they're not performing, if they don't have really packed classes and a while and out social, then it's just not successful. And a part of it is that dance business is really hard. And so, of course, if you want to offer it, you want to be successful. But it doesn't actually mean that there isn't quality.
And so the antidotes that we can see to this is having value statements. Actually, what is our quality? What do we know what that is? Do we have it written down? And that's something that like often you'll see nonprofits or businesses or things have a mission statement or a value statement. And it's a bit of writing that can help ground you in what you actually care about so you can revisit that in moments of decision making.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I feel like I've seen this like literally anytime I've been in a classroom where the teacher steps away from whatever the plan for the day was or the lesson that they had prepared and address the people in front of them. And because sometimes teachers get in there and they try stuff and it's just like the wheels fall off, or like people are emotional, or there's like obviously something happening where there's some dysregulation in the room. And I've had teachers stop and just like address the group and try to kind of attune to the energy that's actually here and present. And oh my goodness, that was more bang for any buck in terms of getting my needs met as a dancer than jamming through more and more figures. It just felt so amazing and deep to be treated that way.
So next on the list is worship of the written word. The definition in the original list is if it isn't in a memo, it doesn't exist.
Right.
And the way that we kind of see this in the dance world is if it isn't in a class, it doesn't exist.
Right.
And this is like classes cost money and time, and people start to really value the information taught in a class over any other dance information that can be out of there. And classes can do things like create cliques. It creates right and wrong ways to think about things. And it can cause where you value less dance forms than the one that you're studying. And it's, again, bringing nuance back into all of this. It's not that dance classes can't be great, but they do cause this worship of the written word thing that we should be aware of.
Totally. I mean, the whole point of being a dancer is to get out and go to a social or like be able to dance at your cousin's wedding or at a barbecue or whatever. And if you don't have the time or money to do all that, then can you just not be a dancer? No, of course you can be a dancer. You know?
Right. All you have to do is get up and move your body to be able to be a dancer. And if you see a dance social going on, you don't need to go take 10 weeks of classes. You can go dance.
You can just go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, of course, like, yeah, the antidote to that is just working to see the contributions and skills that literally every person, whether they have taken a dance class or not, brings to the ballroom.
Yes, absolutely. That's like one of those things that the antidote to white supremacy altogether is just understanding everyone has intrinsic value. You did not gain value by showing up and learning the dance class and being there for the information that's being disseminated. You're getting value because you've shown up and started moving your body.
So true. I love that you just said that, because I think that is one of the inherent elements of whiteness, is that it kind of strips us from what we come with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into being in a body and being able to move.
Yeah.
Okay. The next and the last one we're going to talk about in today's episode is only one right way, which basically is not seeing the value in other communities or other information and only value your own information in your own community.
Yes. And we really see this in the dance world with how dance styles get pitted against each other. Like there's this big rivalry between Lindy Hop and West Coast.
Right.
And in my like Lindy Hop upbringing, I've been like, well, I hate West Coast because it's the white appropriation of Lindy Hop. And then I look at West Coast communities and they're full of people of color, and Lindy Hop is full of white people. And I'm like, I think I have more unpacking to do and learning to do around this.
Totally. Yeah, we have that in salsa too. It's like New York versus West Coast, or New York is like real salsa. I'm like, okay, they're both salsa.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So yeah, I think that is just, this stuff is so much. This is either or thinking, right? This is the same thing, but it's just a more specific, like condensed version of it, where it's like, what I learned is right, and I don't want to be wrong here. So I have to kind of defend this thing. We see it all the time.
Yes. And the antidotes to it are like question your beliefs and like accept that there's just more ways to do the thing that you're doing.
Yes.
And that many people can bring answers to the table, not just you and the people that you have learned from. And we can really see this in the dance world when you like dance more than one dance form, when you try out more things. Like if you dance Lindy Hop and West Coast, I would love to have a person like that on the podcast so I can talk to them about my own West Coast swing biases.
Absolutely. Like if you and I had gotten over ourselves like a year and a half ago and gone to a West Coast social, we would have seen there's like different kinds of people there, and we may have been like more open to questioning our beliefs sooner.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that questioning of like, why do I feel this way? Is it possible I don't have all the information?
I think that this also really shows up well in the dance world with a lot of people. At least I know that this happens in the jazz community, of knowing that things have many different names and many different ways to look. And that there's a bit of vocabulary that has this specific shape to it, but you can bring whatever flavor to that shape that you want, and it's still that thing. So there's no real one right way to do it.
Yes, I love that you just said that, because I feel like that is what makes... I've had a teacher tell me, like, I'm going to show you this, but I don't want you to do it like me. I want you to do it like you.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, no, like it's better if I just do it like them. But the reality is like what I bring is my sauce.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's valuing that, not thinking, oh, I got to do it the exact right way. It's like the things that I bring to the table are valuable, just like things everyone else brings to the table are valuable.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's it for us today. There's a whole nother half of this list to get through, but you're going to be able to find that in part 2 of this episode.
Woohoo. All right, y'all. Leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform.
Even though we are divested from everyone's favorite society-destroying company, Meta, we are still on Instagram, and you can find our profile there at degender_dance.
Yes, and as usual, you can send all of your suggestions, even hate mail and love letters, to degenderdance@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in.
That's it. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ooh, ah, jazz hands.